Hey, it's Tim.
And it's Amy from GoWithLess. Welcome to our channel. We're really glad to see you here. In today's video, we're going to be sharing beyond the Instagram posts. We're talking about the challenges that we have already faced in our first 2.5 weeks as nomads. We are full-time, early retired nomads traveling around the world, and we have already hit some problems. I hope that you'll stay tuned for the full video because we go into some things that we've learned and some things that we hope to share with you as well if this might be something that you're considering. If you don't subscribe, please make sure to subscribe over here, ring the notification bell. Hopefully you give us a thumbs up if you like the content, and let's get going.
So, we sold our house, just like Amy said, a little over 2.5 weeks ago. We decided to go on a cruise, a Caribbean cruise, leaving out of New Orleans, just because it made some sense with some of the things we had going on in our life. We show up at the cruise. This is a 9-night cruise, and we both get sick as soon as we get on the boat. It is awful. This is like a vacation. So our life isn't a constant vacation. We're moving from house sit to sit and doing things that aren't vacation like. This was like, we're going to kick it off in high gear with this fantastic vacation experience. We did gain 5 pounds each on the boat. However, this was a bad way
You weren't supposed to say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, so I gained 10 pounds. How's that?
You didn't get 10 pounds.
So it was a good experience. However, we were both sick pretty much throughout the entire cruise.
And that's one part. But the really big part are our house sits that have canceled and have changed. While we were on the cruise, we didn't have access to internet most of the time. We only had limited access while we were in ports. And one day I got on my phone and saw that one of our house sits that had been scheduled for May a long time ago, one of the couple, one of them had died.
This was a 3-week sit, right?
Yeah, it was a 3-week sit in North Carolina. So the homeowner had died, which is awful and tragic, and our heart goes out to this family, certainly, but that canceled our sit. So while we were here in the middle of the ocean without coverage, really, we scrambled to find a filler sit, and we did. But we broke a rule that we have talked about in some of our house sitting videos that we wouldn't suggest people break, and that would be taking a sit with no references, that also you don't have a Skype call. We've done many house sits that have no references, but we always have a Skype call.
And
this time we didn't have a chance to do that. There was no video support. I could barely send a text.
And this was a replacement for the sit that we had lined up where the person passed away. So Amy found something quickly, and we just basically, it doesn't line up exactly with the dates that we had originally planned, but it's roughly in the same part of the country, so at least it has that going for it.
Yeah, so that did work out. Another sit that we have coming up, the dog looked like it might have a terminal illness, and it was to be a 6-week sit. The owner was considering canceling it based upon the potential diagnosis, but they thankfully found out that the dog has other issues, and it's not a terminal issue. It's more of like a back problem, kind of like what Tim has. And the sit was cut from 6 weeks to 4 weeks. So we had to figure out what to do for those 2 weeks.
And that actually happened several weeks before we left for our cruise, or before we sold our house. So that happened back in December. Is that right?
It happened in November. Actually, the final, I think, happened in December. But here we have this whole year planned in advance, really far in advance. And we're going to get to all of our lessons that we learned. We're kind of just giving you the little story beforehand. Then yesterday, we woke up to the sad news that a sit that we have starting in Sonoma that was going to be a full month and is starting in like
2 weeks.
In 2.5 weeks. A whole month in a very high cost of living area canceled because of an accident with her son. And so that was canceled. So we have been house sitting for nearly 5 years. I was gonna say knock on wood, but hello, the jig is up here. It's not like our luck has run out, but we have had 5 years of wonderful, fabulous sits, no cancellations, no real big issues at all. And none of these cancellations were us. So we are turning a lot of people onto this world of house sitting. A lot of our friends on our channel have gone and became house sitters because of our example. But it's not all perfect, and there are many things outside of your control.
Yeah, and so we've known all along that this was a potential, that we could have these changes, that people could cancel. Life happens, and so life happens for us. Life happens for the people we're sitting for, and so we expect these things to happen. And we certainly have Plan Bs and Plan Cs and Plan Ds to try and sort through, and so we're hustling through that now. As a matter of fact, we just found out yesterday about the Sonoma sit canceling, and so Amy's been hustling, trying to find replacements, and it's going to be difficult to find a like-for-like replacement. It's not likely that we're going to find a 1-month sit that lines up with the dates, and so now we're trying to find a week here and 3 weeks there, and so there's some things that she's got 3 different things in the hopper that she's applied for, and we're just waiting to simply hear back from these folks, and so there's some communication that's gone on with 1 out of the 3, and then the other 2 we haven't heard back from, so there's just these dynamics that are interesting. So the other thing is we like to plan early because it allows us to it makes it less expensive to book the transportation between the sits, and so we have flights and we have other things going on to get from place to place to place, and so booking last minute travel is often a lot more costly than if you can book it far out, and so we had pretty much all the inter-city transportation planned, and all that's falling apart, so now we have to go back and look at that too, and sometimes it's going to be, obviously making a flight plan that's 2 weeks out is going to be costly, or we're going to do something else, maybe ride the bus, or maybe rent a car and do a one-way rental, something like that.
But then we have to be kind of local.
Yep, that's
We can't go
exactly
across
right.
the country with a bus, really.
That's right, yep.
We're not going to. We could. We're not going to.
do that. Yep.
And we have a lot of points and miles, but your points will get sucked up really fast with a month at a hotel. That's why we rely on house sitting. So we really use our points and miles for flights, and then for like the little in-betweensies. So between sits, 2-3 nights, that's when we use our hotel miles, because 30-ish days at a hotel situation or at an Airbnb in North America is really expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah. So we had been planned all the way out through Thanksgiving of this year, and Tim and I are big planners, and we're seeing that might not be such a good plan.
Yeah, so we had almost actually a little over 200 days booked in sits in 2020, and so far we have had to make changes to
3 of
5,
them.
6, almost 8 weeks, at least, maybe it is 8 weeks worth of that has completely gone away, and we have to go back and shuffle and try and figure out what we're going to do to replace those 8 weeks worth of sits.
And when Tim says I'm in contact with 3 different house sits, I've applied to 3 house sits. 2 of them haven't even opened up our application, so that for all I know, those are not even, like, maybe they've already picked another sitter, maybe they're going to have a neighbor do it, maybe they won't ever fill that sit at all, or maybe they pick another sitter on the site. The other one that did reach out to us had over 40 people apply for their sit within the first, I don't know, it looked like 10 hours. So the fact that he wrote me back was kind of amazing. But, I mean, there were 40 plus applicants here, like, boom.
So we believe we've made the short list of 30 folks.
We have no idea. Right. There's like still 30 something left. So, I mean, so the idea that I'm in contact with somebody is like, and another challenge, if house sitting may be new to you as well, is that some house sitters, some house owners are really, really quick. So when you respond to a house sit advertisement, they are on it really quickly. What we've seen is this is very prevalent in the UK, because we have 4 UK sits this summer, and as soon as you apply, they're like, we're confirming you. I'm like, hold on, we want to have a Skype call. Like, give us a second. Excuse me, I still have this lingering cough.
Something else that we've realized just over the course of the last week is that we don't really like what Amy's going to call in-between situations. So when we came here to Berkeley, we're in a sit right now. We're here for 7 nights. Is that right, Amy? So roughly 7 nights. And we stayed 2 nights in an Airbnb here in Berkeley. Those 2 nights, we had to get there as a little weird situation, and so
it's a weird situation because it was a weird bathroom situation.
A weird bathroom, and we really can't get out of our bag. So we're looking for situations that are. We like this longer term. Maybe 3 weeks is a sweet spot, or maybe a month. But we like to be in a place for a little bit longer time, so we can sort of get into a routine. So as we've said before, we owe a lot of material about travel hacking and things like this to you guys. And so when we were in Sonoma, we were going to be there for an entire month. So we would be settled down, and we could actually spend some time and focus on putting that material together. That just doesn't happen.
And answering all the YouTube comments that I haven't been able to get to.
So we're falling behind in our life. Something else we realized on our cruise is that the being away from the internet, we thought, this isn't going to be a big deal. It might even be sort of nice to be disconnected. Well, for us, it wasn't so nice to be disconnected. Now we are behind on all of our online life, and so we have a ton of catching up to do with all of our online activities, which for both of us is a lot.
It doesn't sound like we're retired, does it?
If
we don't get paid for it, so
yeah, that's right.
So we have a lot of work to do without the pay.
Yeah, that's right. What do we do?
It's kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy.
Okay, so when Tim talks about the in-betweens, this is not settled time. So I think that this is going to, now we've only done a transition once. So normally just when we get off a cruise, we go back home. When we go to a house sit, we come back home. We are going home, home, home. Now we're cutting that out. And we were really mentally ready to go to the next thing. So we were thrilled not to go home. So the idea of like, oh, everyone said on the cruise, like, have a safe trip home, good, enjoy home, whatever. We're like, wow, we don't have a home. We are totally fine with this concept, at least now. What I realized is this 2 nights while we're waiting for the house sit to begin, we have to eat all of our food out. We're not going to go buy all kinds of groceries. We're only there for 36 hours. So we're living out of our suitcases. We're not settled. And so I think that I don't need to be in my home, but I think I do need to be settled. So many of our viewers have been so generous and have offered that we can come stay. I think and by the way, thank you. That is incredibly lovely. I think what we are realizing, and we're learning through this journey, and this is why we're sharing it with you, but what we're learning is we want our own space. We want to be settled. We want to stay put for a minimum of a week to like maybe, 5 weeks. So we're really looking at like 3 to 5 weeks, ideally about a month. And we're going to be flexible, but we also realize that we are hoping for urban sits, and those urban sits often are smaller places. Well, the homeowner doesn't have room for us when we come. That was the challenge here in Berkeley. It's a lovely family. We've already house sat for them, but they don't have room for us. So we had to go find an Airbnb for 2 nights before the house sit began. Well, that's great in general if you're just going to do it here and there, but not when you're doing it a couple times a month. So I think we're learning. We're going to have to stay with the homeowners, or we're going to have to find situations that are like urban, have enough to do, but they still have room. It's going to be a fine tuning.
It will be, and I think it's going to be difficult. Amy does all of our house sit bookings, so she knows better about this than me. But finding things that go back to back to back, that's going to be a challenge. Also, they have to be within a proximity where we could get there within a given day and then not have to spend the night someplace else. I know in Europe this summer we have several situations where we're going to have 2 nights here or 3 nights here, and we have plans to do a little vacation-y stuff like a weekend trip sort of thing in France and a weekend sort of thing in London. So we'll make it work, but we realize we're making a checklist of the way we want things to go, not necessarily the way that it's going to happen, but our list continues to grow, and we're trying to figure this out. And so the past 11 days have been challenging, to say the least.
Yeah. And we're going to let you know how it's going. So when you see our cool-looking beach, we're going to be in Maui next week. You're going to see beautiful beach photos. This isn't just about the beach, beautiful photos, because there's a lot of effort and hard work behind this. So so someone on our video last week said, I give you guys 6 months of this lifestyle. Dude, you got that totally wrong. I don't know if it's a dude, but you have this totally wrong, because I know that we're going to be at least a year, and I think we're going to be at least 3 years. We're looking at the long term, but we're going to have to find. I think it'll be longer too.
This is going to shake out for sure, and so it may just be like we were talking today. Potentially, maybe we move away from the house sitting model, and we're just paying to be in places that are very, very affordable.
Like stay a month in an Airbnb, a month at a different Airbnb. I don't think we're not going to look at that for a long time.
Yeah.
Certainly, we're booked out through Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing a house sitting most of 2020.
And we love it. So it's
we do love it.
So it's like we love the idea of being with the pets, and so that's something we don't necessarily want to walk away from. It's just this dynamic. It's been very challenging over the last little bit.
Yeah. So sharing that with you. What else do we have? There must be other things.
I don't know.
Let's hope there's no other things.
No other things. Let's see. We got sick. We had 3 house sits change or cancel, and we're trying to figure out what we're doing. So. That's it. Our cruise was amazing. We had a great time.
It was.
Oh, there was an earthquake. Actually, we were looking today.
Oh, my goodness.
There was an earthquake right off of Jamaica, right where our boat was, that basically happened today. So we're counting our lucky stars that did not happen while we were there.
It had repercussions on several of the other islands where we were. Yeah. Could you imagine being at sea with a tsunami on your cruise ship? So we had a cold, and anyone who's like, wow, these two are should not be crying about their lives. We are not. So for anyone who is giving us
don't want a cold,
that
though.
Shade, so for that shade of you shouldn't be complaining about this life. We aren't complaining. We're just sharing.
This
is not complaining, and we'll get through this little rough patch.
I'm going to say, I do feel complaining. The last little bit has been, it's been challenging.
Well, we also haven't had a lot of sleep. We're up, both of us have this dry cough, this tickle. We're up all night, coughing. So we're not getting good sleep. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, my mom and stepdad come to visit us in Berkeley tomorrow because there's no room for them. They're going to be at a Airbnb nearby, and they're going to be enjoying all that the San Francisco area, Bay Area has to offer. So we're real excited for them to be here. And
With
that's
that,
it.
adios.
See you next Wednesday.